Hello, my name is Shay Howe, and I'm excited to join you today to talk a bit about sales and marketing alignment. That disconnect or misalignment between sales and marketing, where those exist, how to think about getting aligned around them, and ways to kind of dig into what that is. Now, that's a bit of the problem at the high level. But I want to spend a little bit time digging into those key areas of alignment. So, where are the areas you actually want to sit down on the sales and marketing side and build some true alignment? And then, as well as some of the process as to how you might begin to execute based off those areas of alignment. Now, first up is taking a look at your core audiences. And we begin to think about this at ActiveCampaign in three different ways. First up is the firmographic data we have. So, who is this person? What's their position? Where do they work? What vertical is that company in? How large is that company? So how many employees do they have? What's their revenue? And does that kind of fall in and or match against to our current customer base or the customer base we're looking to reach? Next up becomes source specific data. So where did this person come from and what might we be able to infer about where they came from? So for example, if someone came from one of the competitive review sites, so it could be G2 Crowd or Software Advice, we can make a logical assumption that they loosely know what our tools and our product is, but that they're also comparison shopping. So how we interact and how we engage with them is going to be a little bit different than that of someone who may have came in through a branded search term per se. So we begin to think about some of these source and what we might be able to know about that person from that source. And then lastly, we dig into their behavior. So have they taken any meaningful actions? Be it, are they opening our emails? Are they clicking through on them? Have they visited our pricing page? Have they booked a demo? Have they created a trial? And in that trial, have they taken any more meaningful actions? So have they created and sent a campaign? Have they built their first automation, or have they created a deal within the CRM? All of those things really begin to matter and start to tell us who's more qualified than not and who we might want to actually start to reach out to and dig in with. And we'll get a little bit further into that in a minute. Now, once we know who that kind of target audience is, we want to understand what's our core message for each of those audiences and kind of how do we want to reach out and engage with them. Why is our mission? It's our purpose. It's why we exist as an organization. It becomes our cause and what we believe and kind of drives everything we do and all of the actions we take. We always start to think about why with all of our messaging. Knowing why, we then back into how. So what is the process or steps we take to actually realize our why? With those two in place, we start to look at finally what. What is it that we're offering? What is our product or service at the end of the day? This is what drives your why, right? You can start to look at all this in tandem all together. And looking at this for ActiveCampaign, our why, our mission, what we stand to do is to help growing businesses meaningfully connect and engage with their customers. We do that by bringing together the entire customer experience. We want these businesses to be able to see all interactions they have with their customers, how they're connecting with them, and where the opportunities there exist within their customer base. What that actually is at the end of the day then is a CRM, sales automation tools, email marketing, messaging, and a number of different integrations. And people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it, right? And that becomes very, very important. These core messages will change based off some of that core audience, but the tenets of these always stay the same. So we'll experiment a bit in here, but the tenets are always the same. Once we understand the core audience, that target audience and the core messaging, then it becomes our process for how we actually will go out and work with some of these leads. And we start to think about this in three ways as well. First up is routing. So where will the leads be going? Will they be going to marketing? Will they be going to sales? Which team will they be going to? And all the way down into which individual will they be going down to at any given time as well. After routing, we take a look at priority. So what is the order in which we'll reach out to leads and kind of which leads take precedent over others? We back into this largely based off that target audience again, right? So if you fit against that target audience, you're going to be more qualified, thus be higher priority. So if you've taken a meaningful action in a trial, we're going to move you up in the priority versus someone who may have came in through a white paper or webinar and just has some more passive interest. that might be someone who sits more in the marketing nurturing side until we can move them up in priority. And then it becomes timing. So timing not just in how fast should we reach out to leads, but how consistently should we reach out to them and over what specific time frame. In doing this, we also follow a fit and intent side of how we will do so. So fit becomes that of how well our solution will meet the needs of that customer. So will we be able to help them out? Will they be successful using our product? Can we really match the needs of them well and create success for them? Or will they end up churning later, or are we just a misfit to begin with? The other side of that is intent. So how likely is this customer to make a move or to make a decision and move into our product? If their intent's not super high, we could have some trouble selling against it. So we want to understand what their intent is and where they're at in some of their decision-making process. And we break this out into a matrix. So much like other analysts do, be it Forrester or Gartner, we build a fit and intent matrix to really understand where certain leads fall and how we want to engage with them. Now, the low fit, low intent side, these are the difficult ones. These leads should actually, honestly, probably never go to sales, and marketing probably shouldn't spend a ton of time on these leads either. Some basic nurturing will probably work here. This person, isn't a strong fit for what you're doing. They don't have a high intent. So not that you want to ignore them, but don't invest too much time here. The opposite side of this is the pot of gold. This is those high fit, high intent leads. Sales should be all over these leads, closing them as quickly as possible. And marketing should be backing up sales, providing any of the materials and assets needed to kind of drive and support that conversion, onboarding, education, you name it. This is a classic don't overthink, don't oversell scenario. Work with them as quickly as possible, but get the deal done. Now, on the other two sides of this matrix is where there is a strong area of opportunity. And these are the areas where sales and marketing alignment becomes incredibly important and necessary to kind of win these deals. Now, on the low fit, high intent side, these might be people that fall outside some of that target audience or buying personas, if you will, but you don't necessarily want to ignore them. This is an area where marketing can really take the lead and start to work with that person to help them get a better understanding of who you are and what you offer. And perhaps over time, give them the understanding that your fit might match exactly what theirs are. The last quadrant here, that high fit, low intent, this is the real moneymaker. These are the ones you need to convert to really grow your business. These are going to be those that are, perhaps using one of your competitors. They fall smack in the middle of that target audience for you, and they're the people you really want to work with. They just may not have prioritized actually solving the problem or switching solutions at this point. So sales and marketing needs to be relentlessly focused on winning this area and really finding the way to move these folks from low intent to high intent. All this is a gradient. No two leads or opportunities are the same. It's a really good way to start to understand where those leads fall and how you want to work with them and what that process could be. Now, understanding kind of that target audience, those core messages, and some of that process, you're in a really good position. But this is a step I see people miss and skip all too often. And they do so because it seems fairly basic. It seems relatively easy to do. And that of which is having a shared terms and library of language to which you talk about things. So, how do you actually define a lead? And what is a marketing qualified lead versus a sales qualified lead? And one of those leads ready to be moved around? And what can happen here is when you don't have that conversation to really understand what those terms and what the language could be, you find yourself in a situation where you're trying to either diagnose a problem or plan for success or drive a strategy. And you start to, debate and discuss the semantics of what that stuff is, rather than really focusing on, the opportunity at hand, where you're actually trying to dig in and drive an improvement. You burn a lot of energy and calories on that of these definitions later in the process, when you should have had them up front to allow you to move a bit faster and take action throughout that process. Now, all that aligned, it's about creating a formula, right? And helping use some alignment to drive that formula. You can keep it relatively simple, right? So you can really begin to understand what is the sales qualified pipeline you're going to need by understanding what is your company goal and what is the percentage of those you're able to close, right? What's your sales close rate against those? Likewise, you can get to your marketing qualified pipeline needs by understanding what is that sales qualified pipeline, and then at what rate are you actually able to convert leads into it, right? So thus you can back into what does that marketing qualified pipeline need. Now, when you have your marketing qualified pipeline, you can take that, divided it by the average revenue per account, as well as that conversion rate of leads to qualified leads on the marketing side, and you get your total number of leads. Very, very high level, easy way to kind of look at this. Obviously, it gets much more complex. But if you can do this at a high level and you can find a repeatable system to start to drive some of that growth, it becomes a bit more predictable, which is a really good area to be and to focus on. With that formula then, comes accountability. Marketing can make their commitments, sales can make their commitments. We can build some SLAs against that and really start to understand how to work together, how to dig in. When something happens or when something slows down, we know the areas to look at and we understand the formula for how that growth is there and where to actually take action, where to strategize, and further where to find newer opportunities for that growth as well. So the formula drives a lot of that accountability. Those are some of the key areas you really want to think about sales and marketing alignment and a little bit around how to process and work with those leads. In addition to that, just a few key takeaways that you should keep in mind as you start to think about this process, as you really begin to start to roll something like this out inside your organization. First up, as we kind of went into, look at the entire customer experience. This isn't just about sales and marketing and that funnel. You got to get across that and think about the entire customer experience, that entire journey. The other side of that, don't over-automate it. That at the end of the day, you're dealing with real people, right? Humans around that. And then lastly, be and present a united front together. Whenever a team sees that misalignment or disagreement, it seeps into their work, right? And when it seeps into their work, it seeps into the entire customer experience. So be and present united front in front of the team. Really work out some of those communications, those plans, that alignment at a high level, and then present that to the team together, really working lock and step for what that is. And that's what I got. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening. Again, my name is Shay Howe from ActiveCampaign. Thank you so much.